Sleep is a big issue as well. Certainly, we've all heard the stories, Laura, about folks who, um, stayed up all night and crammed, right? Um, but mom always says, make sure you get a good night's sleep. What has your experience been when you take these tests, and in its relationship to sort of sleeping the night before?
Yeah, you're never going to get the best sleep of your life, the day before an ARE exam. But you just have to plan and do the best that you can. Try to plan that day out before if you can. I would, yeah, the full like 24, even if I could like 48 hours before the test, just plan it out exactly. I recommend refraining from doing any other practice tests because no matter what your score, if you don't ace it, you're going to get some anxiety, and it's not going to help you in the next few hours before your test. So do some right, some proper like health diligence items, right? Like eat a well squared meal. Make sure there's vegetables on there. Try to wear yourself out. Go to the gym. Do anything that you can that will ensure that you'll get a good night's rest. But yeah, it's kind of out of your control. There's not much you can do except for to try to plan accordingly. And then also, like I said, like plan your break at the test center. So just have everything pre-packed and ready to go, so you can wake up the next morning. The material that you want to review before you walk into the exams there. Your snacks are there. Anything that you might need is there. Your earplugs. Make sure you put your earplugs in a little bag and bring them. But yeah, there's, from my perspective, and at Dr. Allison Carr, I'd love to hear your advice, but it's the only thing you can do is to plan.
Yeah, Allison, what do you think on this one?
Yeah, for sure. Plan, and Laura's right. It's very unlikely that anyone is going to get a peaceful, restful night of sleep prior to an exam like this. But you have to do the best you can, and it doesn't start the night before your test. It starts long before, when you're studying. And so to use the marathon analogy that Laura used earlier, you don't just show up at a marathon and run it for the first time on that day. You have to practice. So begin practicing when you're studying, with the sleep hygiene, really really making that a priority. It's a priority for a number of reasons, but especially when you're studying for an exam like this, you need to be rested, so that your brain is firing on all cylinders. Back to the whole brain like a computer thing. You want to have a full battery. Another thing, as far as getting a good night of sleep goes, is for some people, beginning a meditation practice is helpful as well. And that doesn't have to, it doesn't have to consume hours of your life. Spending even just 10 minutes a day, just in silence and doing some deep breathing, or downloading, there are a ton of apps available now, and even free stuff on YouTube, that are guided meditations, for people who might be just beginning to start meditating. And meditation can help tremendously with being able to fall asleep or get back to sleep. And you can use those skills that you build the night before the exam, do a good meditation, and also prior to going into your exam on test day. And the last thing, like Laura mentioned, I suggest no more practice exams the day before, because just like Laura said, there's no score that there will be some way of you being able to experience a spike in anxiety. So the day before the exam, rather than doing practice tests, might just be a better idea to plan that day as just a review day.
Yeah, I think that's a really a hard part, right? Is this idea that at some point you actually have to set it down, and you have to sort of become okay with the preparation you've put in, even if it's insufficient. Even if you're like, man, I really planned on studying for 60 hours and I only studied for 20 hours. if you're going in, like, it doesn't help to be worried about that. You have to sort of put it down, I suppose. So I like that. I think that idea of no practice exams a day before. We do a review day, so maybe it's sort of a flashcard day. That's often, I remember that being a useful tactic here as well. Allison, have you found that that sleep does have, I mean, I guess maybe it's self-evident, but maybe you could elaborate on this. But does, having all that rest and sleep, does it really make a difference in the testing room, or is it more of just sort of, I don't know what people say? Are there results out there that really prove that it makes a big difference?
Yes, there are, and so there is quite a bit of research on, the importance of sleep, so that our bodies and brains can repair
Mm-hmm.
overnight. And so if we are running on, little sleep consistently, for a long time, our brains are not at their best, which means when we're encoding the information, when we're learning the information, we might not be learning it as well as we could. We might not be retaining it as well. And again, when our brains are depleted and we're exhausted, it's really hard to retrieve the information that we have stored in there. But the real important part, it's not just, again, it's not just the night before the exam, you got to get a good night of sleep. You're probably going to get a crummy night of sleep the night before the exam. What's more important is consistency for like multiple days in a row. I mean, ideally, multiple weeks or months in a row, to be prioritizing the sleep hygiene is important.
Yeah, I think that's really helpful. And I know just me personally, as I, do the things that I do here at Black Spectacles, boy, especially coming from the world of architecture, where sleep is something that's very much a luxury. I've sort of learned the opposite. That in fact, it's hard to do a good job at what I do without sort of enough sleep. And I know, from the experience of taking the test just myself, that I actually had never heard that it's not just the night before, it's the week before, it's the weeks before. Again, also prompting an interesting idea for something for us to do here to help folks with these tests.